Hey, I'm Lani and welcome to Fabulous Retreats YouTube channel. Join me for a juicy hip stretch. We're going for some space. We're going to start seated with your hands behind your body. Feet flat on the ground and nice and wide. And we roll the legs one way and lift up and take them the other way. So for now we're keeping the chest centered and we're feeling the rotation of the legs within the hip joint. And you'll feel here that the hip and the pelvis wants to lift a little, and that gives you a nice stretch to the lower back. And then we're going to follow with the arm. So the next time the legs come off to the left, you're going to take that right arm and reach all the way around as if you're giving yourself a hug. Then swing that arm back through, the legs follow, and then reach around and give yourself a hug on the other side. And then you can start to create a little bit more kind of flow or momentum with the movement. So as the arm swings back through, it's giving you a bit of a driving force to take the legs with you. Then the next time you come off to the left, we're going to hold it there. Keep the knees down, drive down through that back end, drive the hips forwards and keep reaching the arm all the way back past the ear to feel that stretch through the front of the hips and the side body. Then the bum comes down, the arm reaches down, we sweep through, we go to the other side. Hips drive through as the arm reaches right up. Breathe into that space between the fingers and the hip and come back through. You might start to travel forwards. That's okay. Just starting with a nice dynamic warm up before we get deep into those hip rotators. Keep the back knee on the ground here as you drive through. Last one each side. And then coming back to center, we're going to roll over to face the left. And then we're creating a 90-90 position. So you want the front knee directly in line with the hip. And then that knee is at a 90-degree angle. The front shin should then be parallel to the back hip, which is coming directly out of the back hip socket, and then that knee is at 90 degrees as well. So we look like a peaceful Schwarzenegger. And then we're going to bring one hand on either side of the front leg, and in order to get there you might need to roll this back hip forwards slightly. So you're trying to rotate or move your trunk so that it's nice and square to this front leg. Then one hand on the outside of the knee, one hand on the outside of the foot. Lengthen through the spine, sit bone and crown are reaching away from each other, and then fold at the hips, not through the spine. You're going to pull yourself down, feeling the belly and the thigh drawing towards each other. Then drive the leg into the ground to lift yourself up. So it's a pull down, the leg and the trunk, then a push down to lift up, the leg driving to the floor. Coming down, hold, press down to lift up. Come down as far as you can without rounding through the spine. Push down to lift up. Lovely. Down, hold, and lift. And if you have any knee pain here whatsoever, then you can just decrease the angle at the knee slightly or decrease the angle at the hip slightly as well, and that should alleviate that pain. Let's do another two here. Reaching through the crown of the head, staying nice and long through the spine. And then come down and hold it there. Find a space where you feel you could hold without the hands. Take the hands off the ground, reach them out. 10, 9. So the leg is pressing down in order to hold you there. And last 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift yourself up. And then come all the way down, walk your hands forwards and allow your body to relax. Now, depending on how flexible you are is going to depend on how much you're going to want to move over to the outside of the thigh or how square you can bring your chest to your shin. So in an ideal world, we'd have our chest nice and square to the shin and square to the floor, but realistically, you're probably going to be closer towards that thigh, and that is totally fine. Take some nice big breaths here. With that inhale breath, feel the breath moving into the areas you feel the stretch. And then as you exhale, just see if you can allow the body to soften and melt into the mat, into the stretch a little deeper. Have 3 more big breaths here. And with each exhale, just see if you can find any more release. You can visualize that tension leaving the body with the exhale, giving you space to melt into that shape a little more. And on the next inhale, we're going to walk those hands in and lift the chest. We're going to stay with the hands on the front of the body, and you're going to find an angle that works for you so that you can lift your back foot off the ground. Now if that foot just goes, not moving at all you got to do is walk your weight forwards a little bit more, and then you should be able to get it off the ground. But you don't want to be able to fling it all the way up, it should just be able to get off, so it's a struggle. And then whatever position you're in, that's where you stay. You don't drift the trunk side to side to lift that leg. So the hips, the pelvis doesn't move whatsoever, but we drive the knee down into the ground, pull the foot up, internally rotating from the hip, and then lower down. We're going to lift. In the little pause is your opportunity to maybe lift a little higher, and then lower back down. We lift a little higher, and lower back down. And then be mindful here as you continue with that tempo that the heel doesn't start to kick in towards your bum. So we don't want the hamstrings to be doing too much here. They're staying at a constant angle. You're going to start to feel like maybe a little cramp or discomfort as you work deeply into those internal rotators. And you're already in quite an end range position. So then asking them to work here, it's tough work. But because they're working so much, can you really start to connect your brain into where those muscles are? And then mentally ask them to engage a little more and pull you deeper into that rotation. Last 2 like this. Lift a little higher and lower. Lift and a little higher and lower. Then you lift it up and bet your bottom dollar we're going to hold it for 10. 9, lift it higher. 8, 7, lift it higher. Make sure your heel doesn't come any closer to your bum. Lift it higher. You can really feel those muscles now connect in. See if you can lift it higher. Another 3, lift higher. 2, higher. 1, and then let that foot come down. Nice work. Bring the hands down behind your body now. You want to keep them in as close to your bum as you can, so you're staying upright rather than kind of slouching back. And your chest and your trunk, you want to start to face towards that back thigh or towards the center of your legs. So this hip now, this right hip has softened back down to the ground. Again, if you feel any discomfort through your knees here, you can just bring that back knee in a little and maybe the heel to the bum, decrease the angles so that there's no knee pain. Pain in the hip, happy days. Pain in the knee, no good. So shoulders are gliding down and back. See if you can soften that hip down a little more, get that right hip heavy on the mat. Then without letting the knee lift at all, you're going to drive that back heel down into the ground. And you feel this isometric contraction of all of those external rotators in the top and side of your hip. Keep driving that heel to the ground and really channeling into the area that's working. It's deep and it's a funny, unusual feeling. Keep pushing down for 3, 2, 1, then relax and try and lift that knee up to the sky. Open it as high as you possibly can without the other leg moving. really pulling now into those side bum muscles that we just worked isometrically. Now we're asking them to actually create movement. Keep pulling. 2, 1, and then slowly relaxing that leg back down. Oh, make sure your chest is still facing that thigh. Yeah, then that back heel drives down again. Send your breath into the hip. If you start to get a cramp, I want you to try your best to ignore it. Keep driving that heel down. See if you can push the heel down any more. Really feel that deep connection of those external rotators contracting. We're creating force, but we're not letting the length of the muscle change yet. But we will in 3, 2, 1. Relax and then pull that leg into external rotation. Really deeply activating, connecting into that side bum. Keep pulling. You know where those muscles are now that create that movement. See if you can pull it any more. Keep working for a little more range. 3, 2, 1. Slowly bringing that leg back down. Whoa, make sure your chest doesn't change direction. That hip is heavy. Lucky last one. Drive the heel to the ground. So here we've got a bit of PNF stretching, a bit of proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, which really just means that we're kind of tricking our muscles. And here we're already in quite a end of range position, yeah, or a long range position. So asking those muscles then to activate makes them go, oh, well, maybe I've got a little bit further that I can stretch, which is why when we lift that leg, we can find a little bit more space to move into because they kind of reset their stretch length receptors in technical terms. Keep driving down. 2, 1, relax and then lift. Pulling into that external rotation. Pull as much as you possibly can. And then when you can't possibly pull anymore, you're going to let that left hip lift off the ground. Now both knees are actively drawing down to the ground. The chest is still centered now, should be very centered. And then slowly allow those knees to release off to the other side without letting the chest follow. Notice what it feels like internally rotating with this left leg. She feels a little tighter. And then keep the right knee down, lift the left leg up, find as much external rotation as you can without letting the right leg lift. Then when you can't possibly move any further, that knee lifts and both knees are actively pulling down to the ground, trying to find as much abduction, as much space between the hips as possible. And then we slowly release to the other side. Left knee stays down, right knee lifts, find as much external rotation as you can. When you've got no more, let the other knee lift, both knees actively pulling down to the ground before you slowly release to the other side, which is where we're going to stay. You can bring your body weight forwards and find your 90-90 position on this side. So again, the front knee is coming directly out of that front hip. Then that knee is at 90 degrees. That front shin should be parallel with the back thigh, which is coming directly out of the hip socket. And then that back knee is also at 90 degrees. The left hip, lift up and roll it forwards so that you're facing that front shin. And then we bring one hand on either side of that front leg. Think about lifting and lengthening through the spine a little more. Crown of the head and sit bones move in opposite directions. The front of the thigh and the belly activate to compress and pull you into the stretch. Then the leg pushes into the ground to lift you out of the stretch. Pull yourself in, abdominals and hip flexors. Drive the leg down to lift yourself up. Beautiful. Spine stays long, only find as much depth of movement as you can without rounding the spine. Yeah, it's a movement from the hips, not a movement of the spine. Push down to lift up. Good. Come down, hold, lift up. And your arms are only doing as much as you need them to. Yeah, I don't want your knuckles to turn white. They're there for support, but they're only taking as much weight, as little weight as you need. That back hip in this position is really likely to cramp. Yeah? Now's the time. My old coach used to say, treat it like a bully. Yeah? You ignore the bully, it goes away. See if you can ignore the cramp. Unless it's a foot cramp and then it's just unbearable. Pull, hold, push down to lift up. Last two. Fold, hold, and lift. And one. Hold, and lift. Then come down to a space where you feel you can hold without your arms supporting you. Reach your arms out to the side. Make sure that back leg stays anchored. Another 6, 5, 4. Keep the spine long. 1, lift up, and then come down. Relaxing all the way down, walking those hands forwards, allowing the head to relax down onto the arms or the earth. Trying to keep the shoulders square to the shin, but just breathing into whatever space those tight muscles pull you into. You might be off to the side, that's okay. That breath in moves into all of the areas of stretch. And that breath out invites you to melt a little deeper into the stretch. Relaxing, releasing, allowing that tension to leave the body with the exhale. Have 3 more big breaths here. Make the breath deliberate. See if you can deliver it directly into that area of stretch. See if you can see and feel that tension leaving the body with the exhale. And then on the next inhale, you can walk those hands back in. And we're going to walk them in only as far as you need to in order to get that back foot off the ground. Chances are it's going to be totally different to the other side. So find whatever range is good for you so you can just get it off. Yeah? And then we begin. Stay lifted through the spine. Make sure you don't drift your body off to the side as the leg lifts. We pull into internal rotation, we lift a tiny bit higher, and we lower back down. And we lift a little higher, and lower. Ooh, this is my crampy side. Lift, and lower. And make sure you're not going to kick yourself in the butt as that heel lifts. We're trying not to change the angle at the knee at all. We're just working deeply into the hip, into those internal rotators. Getting that foot off the ground as the knee drives down into the ground. Lift and lower. And this is generally the movement that is restricted for a lot of people. Yeah? And you might be all the way over here in order to get that foot off the ground, and that is absolutely okay. Even if it's just coming a paper width off the ground, you can feel that work moving into the side bum. It's working. Eventually, with practice, you'll be able to increase that range. And coming from a hip injury, I can honestly say that this series has been one of the biggest game changers for me. And practicing this twice a week, if you can 3 times a week, you will start to notice significant changes in the range of motion through your legs in these exercises, but then also through everyday life. I notice it in the way I walk, in the way I feel when I sit, everywhere. They're absolutely game changers. Good, last two. Lift higher and lower. Then you're going to hold it up there, lift it up and hold it up. 9, 8, lift it higher. 7, 6, delve deep, lift it higher. And push the knee down to get that foot higher. Feel that work in the side of the bum. And lift higher. Last 2, 1. And then bring that foot down. Woo, bring those hands behind your body now. As you do, let that left hip roll backwards so that your chest and your hips are kind of moving back to face that thigh. Don't lean back too far. Try and stay as upright as possible, lifting up and out of the shoulders so they don't become earrings. And then we've got an isometric contractions of that back leg. So we're going to drive the back heel down to the ground, feeling that force produced, that work build in the side of the hip, but we're not allowing any movement to happen just yet. Send the breath into those external rotators, into the side of that left hip. Keep driving that heel to the ground. Channeling into where the work comes from. And then in 3, 2, 1, relax, channel back into that work and open the knee. Really bring the mind into that exact area that was just working. That's where you want to connect in order to pull that thigh into external rotation. 3, 2, 1, and slowly releasing down. Oh, it feels a little fragile as it comes back down. Good, make sure you haven't changed the position of your trunk or your hips. Drive that back heel down to the ground again. Again, mindfully connect into that side hip. Breathe into that side hip. Keep driving that heel down. And another 4. Push a little more if you can. 3. Should be no pain in the knee. If there is, change the angle of the leg slightly. 1, relax, and then open and lift and pull. And as we pull, it is the thigh moving in the hip socket. It's not the trunk moving to facilitate the rotation. Really actively pull. You might be pulling all sorts of faces here, and that is totally acceptable. Good. You might hear some pops and creaks through that hip. 2, 1, slowly releasing back down. Maybe it feels a little different as it lowers down this time. Allow it to relax. Last round, drive that heel down. Breathing into the hip. See if you can create even more push down. Maybe this feeling of this position already feels a little freer. It certainly does for me. I feel like I can push more with less pain. Not pain. We don't want pain. We want discomfort that is bearable. Doesn't that sound lovely? It feels really lovely afterwards, I can promise you that. Keep driving that heel down, another 3, 2, 1, relax, and then lift. Pull that knee open as much as you can. Woo, got a few more degrees there, keep pulling. When you cannot possibly pull that leg anymore, pull it just a little bit more. And then when you can't, let the other knee lift. You're actively drawing both knees down to the ground, trying to abduct as much as possible before you slowly release to the other side. The pelvis, the shoulders stay centered. The femurs are moving in the hip sockets. Then once you're down, keep the left knee down, lift that right knee up. Find as much external rotation as you can. Then when you can't go any further, let the left knee lift, both knees pulling down, abduct as much as you can before releasing to the other side. One more each way. Take your time. Try and find as much range of motion in each of these three positions. External rotation, abduction in the center, and then a slow release through that internal rotation of the back leg. Notice how it feels on both sides now, hopefully a little bit different to what it did before. Yeah, some cracks and pops through the hips. And then coming back into center, bring those heels into your bottom. Use your hands to push yourself all the way up and come into deep squat. The elbows are on the inside top of the knees. And the hands are pressing down into prayer. Draw the shoulders down and back, lengthen through the spine. And then I want you to connect into the sides of your bottom and actively keep your hands and arms exactly where they are, but actively try and pull your knees away from your elbows, either decreasing the amount of force pressing in or maybe completely losing contact. Keep pulling those knees out wide. Hold. 2, 1, and then relax back in. Now, if you lost contact, you can, or it felt easy, you can create fists and make that distance a little bit further. If palms together was enough for you, then just stay there. And then again, keep that spine nice and long. Feel that connection into the side of your bum. And we abduct those thighs, trying to get those knees off of the elbows. And then once you really start to feel where it has to activate in order to create this movement, see if you can ask it to do a little more. Keep pulling. 3, 2, 1, and then relax. Good. Last one here. If you need to create a further distance, then you can bring fingertips together, otherwise staying where you were. And we pull those knees apart. Feel that connection deep in the side of your bottom, working to abduct those thighs. Get all of that tension off the arms if you can. Maybe even lose contact. Breathing. 3, 2, 1, and relax. You're going to internally rotate that left thigh. Bring the knee down towards the ground, but keep the chest facing forwards. And then pull that thigh back, find that external rotation that you just had. And then transfer the weight slightly, internally rotate that other thigh. Keep the chest facing forwards. And then pull that leg back out. If the heel lifts a little, the heel lifts a little. If you can keep it down, keep it down. Internally rotating, the foot stays active here to keep the knee protected and to stop you from hurting your foot. Pull it wide. Last one. And then slowly bring your bottom back down to the ground. You can use your hands if you don't want to plonk down. Bring those feet together, knees out nice and wide. You can grab a hold of your ankles, draw your shoulders down and back, and actively try and pull those knees down to the ground. And then we're going to think pulses, but the pulse is pulling deeper into the stretch. So it's not coming up whatsoever, it's pulling down. And again, you guessed it, you're finding that work in the side of your bum. in order to create that pull. Pull deeper, deeper. And then notice, does one leg want to touch the ground and the other leg's way off? Feels a little like that for me. We can't be too perfect. And then pull and hold it down there. Find that deepest range. See if you can pull even more. And 3, 2, 1. Relax. Take your legs out. Last one here. Out as wide as you can. And then if you like to move the fleshy bits out from underneath your sitting bones so that you can sit up nice and tall. If you can't sit tall here, then you can roll up your mat or sit on a block or a bolster or a cushion. And the legs are as wide as feels comfortably uncomfortable. And you're drawing your toes back, really reaching out through the heels and then rolling your thighs backwards in space. From here, lift tall. You're going to slide your right hand on the inside of your right leg, and then inhale, reach that left arm up and over, using that bottom arm as a bit of an anchor so that you can keep your chest open to the side. Exhale to come up. Inhale the other side. Reach it over nice and high. Keep the chest open. Exhale up. One more each side like this. The arm slides on the inside. You can gently press into that arm in order to roll the chest open, and then the fingertips reach to feel that stretch right into the side body, down into the sit bones, which stay anchored the whole time. And center. Then you're going to take your left hand and reach it to the inside of your right leg. Yeah? Not too close, maybe about a hand's distance or a hand and a half away. Then from there, keep the thighs rolling back. Think we're not rounding through the spine. You're going to try and find that compression or that connection of abdominals and hip flexors that we found before to pull yourself into the stretch. And then relax just a tiny bit, try and pull yourself deeper. Relax a tiny bit, pull it deeper. And we go for another 8, 7, trying to get deeper into the stretch with each one. The thighs stay rolling back, the belly is active. And 3, 2, 1. Sit up straight. Same thing on the other side. Find that same angle. And poke the bum out the back as you compress the chest and the thigh. Pull it in. Pull it in. Feel it's a reach further in space. We don't bounce. We're actively pulling into the stretch. And last 3. And 2. And 1. Coming up. If the middle's 90 degrees, come a little bit further out than you were before, so about 45 degrees. And we go again, reach. Thighs roll back as you connect through the belly and the hip flexors. Pull it deeper. There's something in front of you that you really want. Grab a hold of it. Reach, reach. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. Sit up. Same thing other side. Reach it out. Reach. Notice what it feels like from side to side. Yeah, depending on that hamstring flexibility, might be a little bit different from one side to the other. But see if you can get that thing that you want so badly. It's right in front of you. Reach for it. Last 3, 2, 1. Coming back through center. And we're going forwards this time. Reach the arms forwards. Keep the thighs pulling back. Arms are going to stay up in line with the shoulders, and then we pull, pulling yourself into pancake. Keep those legs super straight. Keep the spine as straight as you can here. Feel the movement is from that bum poking out, the chest reaching forwards, the compression of abdominals and hip flexors. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it there. Chin into the throat. See if you can reach any deeper. See if you can reach any deeper. Reach a little deeper. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the hands find the ground. Allow the spine to round. Take a nice big breath in. Breathe in between those shoulder blades. Breathe up the length of the legs. Exhale. Relax into the stretch. Last full breath here. And then you're going to walk your hands over to the right. Catch the right hand on the inside of the leg. Inhale and open the chest to the side again. Then we're going to sweep through center. So actively pull down through that whole range we just worked through. Then the arm catches on the inside. Inhale, open. Exhale, scoop and reach. Inhale, stretch it open. And then you can start to create a little bit more tempo here if it feels okay for you. And reach and lift. Last one each side. And then come back through the center and roll yourself all the way up. You might need to use your hands to assist your legs to coming down. Caution, when you stand up, you might be like a little baby giraffe, a little bit wobbly in the legs. I hope that you have breathed some new space into your hips, into your day, into your life. Until next time, stay fabulous. If you haven't yet subscribed, do so. It's just a click and then you can stay up to date with everything amazing and fabulous that we do. Namaste.